Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Knox Makers Tuesday Night Show and Share. Anybody's first time here at Knox Makers? Great, welcome. Tuesday nights are our time to show what we've been working on, what we finished, what we failed at, what we are stuck on. We welcome all types of projects from all types of people. So it's just a chance for us to get together and see what the group is working on and see if we can help them. So we have people signed up tonight to show their projects, and we are going to start with Tracy showing a laser cut map.
This is the second in a series, and this is my hometown. So it was done in 3 layers. The bottom and middle layer are 3mm plywood, and the top layer is 1/8 inch or not 1/8, millimeter and a half plywood, so very thin. I made it by the Sheboygan County website, has all their geography data online. So I downloaded it, and the streets were lines, not like 3D or 2D objects. They were just 1D. So the mapping software, you can do a thing called a buffer where it just like expands a line by however many meters or feet or whatever. So I did that and then exported it into Inkscape in order to cut out. I still engraved all the lines underneath here to like help line it up because it was very tricky otherwise. But that is here I'll show it under the thing. But that is my map of my hometown, and I lived around here. Unfortunately not on the map, but there you go. Yes.
3 layers?
Yeah.
I can understand the bottom one.
The county land is the middle one, and then the roads are a thin layer on top. Yeah.
And I think what you said is that you cut down into the middle layer to hold the street layer. Did I understand that?
I engraved the road lines on just to be able to line it up well.
And engrave is just draw a line?
Yeah, just
Okay. All right.
etch a line, not cut it.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. No, but, well, I thought about it because I was like, how big do I want? I want the river to be like the focus, right? And I didn't want it to be so small that you wouldn't be able to see it. But I did consider doing the whole county, but it would have been quite large. Unfortunately, where I actually grew up is a much more boring with no water. So I had to like go with my hometown where I moved after I was an adult. But maybe Knoxville next. Thank you.
Very cool. All right. Yeah, and just a reminder, if you are showing something up to the camera, hold it on this side of the podium so that everybody can see. And if you have to hold it under this, there are plus and minus buttons down here on the camera that will be able to zoom in on detail or zoom out. All right, next up we have Victor showing greebles.
So does anybody know what greebles are before I start? I figured you would. Yeah, I figured you would too. If you've seen Adam Savage's show, he talks about these, but basically if you've watched Star Wars, you've seen greebles. It's kind of a loose definition to just basically mean that you're adding surface texture to something. So like that's why the Death Star had all these little bits and bobs on it, like a Borg cube, and spaceships. And before that, science fiction had a lot of like very smooth ships, and it wasn't quite as realistic as you saw, especially in Star Wars. It wasn't the first one to really use greebles, but and there's some murkiness. You can Google the term. There's like 2 or 3 greeblies, and I think nurnies, I think, is another one people use. So, as if you've been here before, you know that I'm working on a little science fiction film, and I'm dressing up a friend of mine's, his mom's old workshop, art workshop, to be my mad scientist lab, basically. So I wanted to add a few pieces to these drawers, which are it's just like IKEA furniture. So it doesn't look like IKEA furniture. It looks like IKEA furniture in the future. So this is what I did in Tinkercad, and this is sort of the end result, and I'll pull these out in just a second and show you. But I've also got a bunch of, this is acrylic, and this is PLA. The base is PLA. And then these are all acrylic domes that I've set up. And so I'm just going to use some like temporary adhesive to essentially stick them where it looks aesthetically pleasing. Another little shot here of all the little acrylic pieces and whatnot. And then this is a more kind of advanced version. This is actually something I got off of Thingiverse and then added to it that is supposed to look like a Star Wars piece that you would see like on a door. But this is what these guys look like up close and personal. And you'll notice, by the way, that like my acrylic, I did it like the easy way, which is I had a mold that had a bunch of little rounded parts in it. And instead of mixing like 30 cups with 30 different colors, I just poured the transparent into each one, and then I added like a couple of drops of color, and then I had to stir it up inside of the little rounded part. So that's why you see some swirling and whatnot in here. It doesn't matter because I'm not going to be like close up on any of this. And that's a big part of like prop making, is figuring out what are my sight lines here. Like if this is going to be a hero prop, meaning something you're going to see really up close, you want to spend a lot of time and do a lot of detail with it. But these things are literally just going to be in the background. Like, I mean, I'm shooting 4K, but God help me if somebody like zooms in, right? So yeah, and you can even see there's some like some of the super glue residue and all that kind of thing on there. But again, doesn't matter. I kind of like the marbling, and then some of these too, I took a knurling tool and was able to strip off the edge so that I could inset them as opposed to glue them on the outside. But you know what? I just made up a ton of them and figured we'll let the pieces fall where they may. So here's what I got so far for the most part, and we'll be putting those all over the doors. I'll keep you all posted. Any questions? Greeblies, or Greebles, Greebles. Yeah, I call them Greebles. That's how I've got them labeled on here. Any other questions? All right, thanks, y'all.
Next up, Sue is showing Costume Part 2, the Sue Costume Saga.
So I've talked about both my grandsons. I'm lucky enough tonight to have the older grandson here. So he's going to help me demo today. All right, we left off last week talking about the pattern and which pattern I decided to choose between these. After I got the pattern, then I went to look for the notions. And for those of you who didn't catch last week, what I'm doing is trying to give you little clues and tidbits of what this costume could be. This is not for this grandson, but for my 4-year-old grandson. All right, so in addition, there was two-sided bias tape, Velcro for attachment and cording. Next up, we need fabric. So this is the fabric that I chose for the costume itself.
My bad.
And, well, no, this
well.
is the wrong side. Here we go.
So exciting.
And if you could stand right here for the camera. There you go.
Oh, there it is.
And then on top of that, we have some netting. You've all seen netting, right? Helps make fluff on underskirts. And silky stuff. You can ooh and ah over the softness of this, right? So those are the fabrics. So once I finally decided on the fabrics, then it was like, oh, what size? Because the pattern says to get 54-inch wide. Well, this was only 45-inch wide. So I got a little extra because this could also serve as fabric for quilts. I'm a big quilter as well. So nothing lost there. Next, I decided to pull out the actual pattern. What happened to my envelope? Did you see where it went?
Oh, you put it on here. Oh, there it is.
Right here. All right.
Yeah.
So the reason why I had Nick join me is I wanted to show you the size of this small top. Go ahead. This is the top.
All right, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a pretty large teenager. I mean, I would say I would qualify myself as large. I'd like to say that I'm fairly tall and long-limbed.
This is for my 4-year-old grandson who is 38 inches tall.
Like the whole thing, all the way down?
I believe it's supposed to be cut right here, but even at that, I mean, this is going to be kind of big. But it is for a gown, so it is supposed to be kind of big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yay.
Yay. So if you could put that over there.
Yeah, probably best.
Yeah. I'll fold it later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It doesn't work real well if you wad it to put it back in the envelope. But I think that's probably enough for part 2, and we'll have part 3, the sewing, next time. All right. Yeah, I don't know. If they want to guess what it is.
It's a lamp.
Oh!
It could be.
All right. And last name I have on my list is Neil, who's going to show us what's in the wood capsules. You may have seen these at the market over the weekend.
So I think it was Thursday or Friday, I had a break in my schedule, and I went to the chat line and saw some conversations about not enough capsules have been brought in for the machine, and I'd been planning on making these small digital spinning tops that would go in the capsules, and hadn't had the time to do it. And so I figured, well, I need one of these capsules to see if the tops are going to fit in there. And I came over here, grabbed a capsule, and went back. And then I think there was also some conversation in the chat about they didn't know if there were any empty capsules left. So rather than taking a chance of doing that, I decided, well, what I really need to do then, I guess, is make some capsules. And that's pretty much what I came up with. And essentially what it is on this side, you can sort of make it out, some scrap cherry that I had that I glued up as butcher block that makes the body. And then the top is a rosewood that I also had some scrap of. And of course, didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time, so I had to make it somewhat easy. And what I did was, as far as the preparing the pieces, is I used a 1 3/4, no, actually 1 3/4 Forstner bit to drill this out, to hollow it out. And then I used a 1 3/8 to drill out the body itself. And then turn the rim on here so that the lid would fit over the capsule, like that. And that pretty much held it together, but I was concerned that they might come apart in the machine, so I made sure everything was sealed with the tape. So I was disappointed because having to go with the wood, it was thicker than what the plastic capsules are, so there was no way I was going to make any digital tops that would fit in there that would be of any consequence. So I decided, but it had to have something in there. So show of hands, how many people already know what was in these capsules? Okay.
Some of us watched them, they pulled it.
50 cents. What'd I do? Did I kill the machine? Or was the shock of the 50 cents? How did I do that? I didn't touch anything. No, that wasn't it. Well, any questions? No? Okay.
Yeah. How long did it take you to bore out those cups?
The drilling part was the easiest part of it, as far as just made a jig, and that the wood itself sat in underneath the drill press, brought it down to a predetermined depth that I had restricted, and did the lids first and then the body second. And then I used a scroll chuck on the lathe, which is a chuck that just expands like this and holds it when I cut into the lip up here first, and then I came in and rounded it off, sanded it, and that was how much work was required on this. The tops was a little bit easier because didn't have to drill quite as far, and then just again a little bit of rounding off and then sanding it. So in all, I probably put, if I had to, where's Russell isn't here tonight to ask me how long did it take?
How long did it take?
Averaged out probably about 45 minutes per capsule. And then another, how what?
How long did it take to build the jig?
The jigs are a couple of hours. Yeah. Yeah, well, the first set was maybe 15 minutes. That didn't work. The second set, well, it worked a little bit better. You learn by trying, right? And the third set of jigs is what finally did it. And I saved them, so maybe, what do we have, another 6 months before the next, okay, so I have to start accumulating more scrap wood and more quarters, and maybe we'll do it again. Any other questions? Oh,
How many of them did you make?
6. And yeah, so and I've got 6 months. I guess I can still make one a month and meet my quota. So.
All right, anybody have something to show that did not get on the list? No? All right. Okay, I have some announcements. First of all, great market. I wasn't here to see it, but I heard it went great. 574 visitors, apparently, according to the clicker, so great turnout. Thank you to the organizers, Aliki, Joe, John Dale, Paul, Russell, too many names to count right now, and I'm sure they'll talk about it. And you want to still thank everybody, Aliki? All right. Or just stand up.
Some of them might not be here because they might still be at home, sleeping it off.
There's only one person I want to thank, and she can thank everybody else.
No.
And I want to thank this lady right here because she made it happen.
Yeah.
All right, Aliki.
Well, he abandoned me up here. So, but for real, it took a whole lot more than me. All of you, John Dale put a ton of work in. All of the whole board put a ton of work in. Everybody really put their best face, their best products, and their best attitude forward. There was such activity the day before with getting everything ready and the shop getting cleaned. All of the activity with the capsules, making capsules. Just amazing stuff comes out of people when we all come together and make stuff and then want to promote making stuff and getting together. And so obviously the only thing we want to do beyond thanking people is to gather your ideas and how to make the next one better. And while I can give my opinion on how it could get better from the things that I do and interact with, I'm going to do that. But I can't help, or we can't make it better as a group and as an organization if you don't tell me from your perspective, from where you sat, whether you didn't volunteer at all and you were a happy patron, whether you only stood in front of the food trucks and ate food all day, that's fine too. I watched some of you. Whether you were stuck out in parking, Joe, you were out on the hill for, I mean, I can't tell you many times I said, go see the red-bearded guy, go see the red-bearded guy. So, you know, all of these interactions from wherever you were and what your interaction was, you saw something you liked or something that could be improved on, and that's what I would love. So if you have ideas, gather them together, throw me a message. Either way, I'm probably going to put out an APB on Matters Most as soon as I think I'm still a zombie. This isn't really me. I'm at home sleeping right now. But please, give us your ideas so we can make the next one even better. Thank you, everybody.
All right. And if you haven't volunteered as much already, we need people to help replace the filters. They are getting very bad in the air conditioning units up here. Great if we can get a couple of hands because it's a multi-person job. So yeah, we'll get people up to replace those over here. And in Bay 3, Speaking of Bay 3, the garbage bins got missed by the cleaning crew, so we will also need some people to help haul trash out of Bay 3 if we can get some hands. Great, and great, and great. So events coming up. After the presentation tonight, we will have the new members onboarding. So if you are a new member or prospective or somebody who's just curious about Knox Makers, stick around after the presentation tonight, 5-10 minutes after we're done here, and that will begin, and that's sort of a explanation of who we are as an organization, our values, how we do things around here, and it's a good way to learn about the organization, and also it is required if you want to become a full member. On Friday at 6:30, there is a heat press authorization, our fancy new heat press over in Bay 1. If you want to get authorized on that, there are still tickets available, and that's 6:30 on Friday. The FreeCAD 101 on Saturday is sold out, but there are still tickets available for the FreeCAD 101 on Monday at 6:30. And then just announced as well, next Friday, the 13th, we will be having a Halloween crafting social, and so there are tickets available for that. Come by and paint some ghosts and goblins and gargoyles and whatnot, imbibe in some delicious Halloween adult beverages, and just have a good time. And then also announced today is the Halloween Spook Show at Knox Makers. That will be October 21st, and so that will be a good time. We'll get watch some frights together, and that will be 7 p.m. on the 21st. And with that, we're going to open up the workshop and conclude tonight's presentation. Thank you all for coming, and like I said, if you want to stick around for new members onboarding, that is going to be right here in just a few minutes. Thanks for all coming out.